Hi guys, it's sorry to hear the escalating tensions between Ukraine and Russia just after the end of the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics. Well, the Games were also held against the backdrop of the most dramatic escalation of strategic tensions between Russia and the West since the end of the Cold War. Wars will do no good to everyone, every country, and will hinder the development of the whole human beings. I guess you may wonder, how has the Ukraine-Russian tensions evolved into today's situation? What will China do facing the escalating tensions? Why a Russian invasion of Ukraine will hurt Americans too? In today's episode, let's take a closer look. On February 22nd, it's just a day, China's Twitter-like Weibo became a new front between Ukraine and Russia. The official account of Ukraine embassy in China posted that Ukraine firmly condemns Russia's President Vladimir Putin's recognition of a pair of self-proclaimed separatist republics in eastern Ukraine. Chinese netizens were confused by the post and asked why the announcement appeared in the third-party social media platforms. It's confusing, isn't it? But what is more confusing by the whole world is what will China do next? Currently, China doesn't take sides between Russia and Ukraine despite pressure from US. China's envoy to United Nations Zhang Jun on Tuesday called on all sides to show restraint and avoid any action that escalated the tensions. There's still no strong indication of whether it's Russia or Ukraine that China favors. Beijing has declared that its partnership with Moscow has no limits, while still maintaining strong ties with Kiev. After all, Ukraine is a major trading partner of China. In the US, this interim scenario might also spare Americans a damaging new spike in gasoline prices and inflation and allow President Joe Biden to escape another blow to his credibility in a tough midterm election year. The world is holding its breath for Putin's next move, but the evidence so far looks ominous. Somewhere back there in the midst of time, I'll walk you through how have the tensions over Ukraine ratcheted up over the past few months. Actually, troops movements have become ever more apparent since late last year. In November, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said there were nearly 100,000 Russian troops near its border. Russia denied this movement and accused the Ukrainian of a military buildup of its own, but Moscow made its demand clear. It wants legal guarantees that Ukraine will never be part of NATO. In early December, the US threatened Russia with strong economic and other measures if it invades Ukraine. Russia responded with new proposals which sought to limit US and NATO military presence near its borders, as well as the influence on former Soviet states. In January this year, Russian troops began arriving in Belarus for military drills, which Moscow said were aimed at thwarting external aggression. The same month, the US and NATO formally rejected Russia's demand. The bloc called Moscow's security demands unrealistic. Soon enough, NATO put troops on standby and sent ships and fighter jets to bolster Europe's eastern defenses. On January 31, Moscow accuses the US of whipping up hysteria after Washington says 30,000 Russian troops will be deployed in Belarus near the Ukrainian border by early February. World leaders have been trying to find diplomatic solutions to the crisis. Notably, in February, the Normandy format met in Berlin. The diplomatic grouping of Germany, France, Russia, and Ukraine were created in 2014 to find a peaceful resolution in the eastern area of Ukraine known as Donbas. The armed conflict in Donbas started in 2014, which pitted Ukrainian government forces against pro-Russian rebels for control over much of the two heavily industrialized regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. More than 10,000 people died in the conflict, which saw the two regions declare independence. Minsk agreements were reached between 2014 and 2015 to try to deliver a ceasefire, but the protocols were never properly implemented due to violations of parties. In February this year, shellfire intensifies all along the front line in Donbass. Leaders of the self-proclaimed republics of Donbass and Luhansk say they are evacuating residents to Russia. On Monday, Putin formally recognized the independence of Donetsk and Luhansk and all the Russian troops into both areas on the so-called peacekeeping missions. The decision was condemned by many Western leaders, as they vote sanctions and called on nationals to leave for fear of a looming war. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres spoke at the Munich Security Conference in February, insisting there's no alternative to diplomacy to resolve the Russian-Ukraine crisis. That situation is now seemingly getting out of hand, leaving the world with a ticking bomb. I'm Kathy Chen, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you like it, just subscribe and leave a comment. Bye!